name's Janet. I'm an alcoholic. Thanks for coming out. Thanks, John and Vicki, for inviting me. It's truly humbling to be here tonight. I was mentioning to Vicki a little earlier when I got here, it's kind of, when you're not asked to speak very often, us long-timers, I consider myself a bit of a long-timer compared to some of my friends that are just celebrating a few months, a few years, you know. My sobriety date is June 28th, 2009, so I have 12 and a half years of sobriety. And I'm truly grateful. You know, I had a huge God-sized hole in my heart when I came into this program, and I didn't know it. I didn't know what my problem was. I thought if I just put down the bottle that my life would change, but little did I know there was a lot more to happen. I'll start back a little bit. I'm one of two, and I come from a long lineage of alcoholics and addicts, and I saw a lot of things in my life that little girls should never see, and I really felt different than everybody else in a lot of ways, and I drank differently. I started drinking as a young teenager, and I really didn't think that I drank like my friends. I got sick, I was very hungover all the time, and I blacked out right from the first time I drank. Passed out beside the arena, my first drunk. It was not a pretty sight. I took a few notes here just to try to stay on track. I started dating my first husband in high school, and we had our first child at the age of 20. I latched onto that family because they were the only family that I had ever seen to be normal. They were the Cleavers. So I latched onto that family, and I stayed there as long as I could. They were what seemed normal to me. He and I had our first child at the age of 19. I was turning 20. And that beautiful little baby had a stroke at birth, and at 13 days old had to have brain surgery. And he was finally being released from hospital. I'm so nervous, oh my God, jeez. He had brain surgery at 13 days old, and he was finally going to be released from hospital at 30 days. And I went out to celebrate the night before and got so drunk I couldn't go get him from the hospital, and that's the way I drank. And that's just pretty much my drinking pattern. That's how it was. You know, I was okay. I took care of that child. I took very good care of that child. But I went on sprees. I went on binges. Family helped take care of that little baby, and things were pretty normal for a little while. You know, I was an okay parent. You know, but I binged. We stayed together. We had another child, and about 9 or 10 years later, we separated for reasons other than alcohol, and my drinking really took off. And I met and married a second man, and his career really encouraged drinking. He was in the military, and so that was just fine with me, and we drank the same. And we went out one night, and I was wearing whatever. I didn't have pockets or anything, so I had no money on me, and he said that every time he saw me, I had a drink in my hand. And that's all I remember. I remember walking into the place, having a few drinks, the party was great, and nothing until I woke up the next morning in jail. And that kind of stuff didn't happen to people like me. You know, 2 cars in the garage, the big house, kids are doing great, I have a great job, making great money, doing fantastic, married to the guy who's doing great in his career. That stuff just didn't happen to people like me. And in my job, I knew some doctors I had close friends with some doctors, and they gave me a drug test, and I did a drug test at home, and there was drugs in my system, so somebody had roofied me in the bar. And but you know what that did was that gave me an excuse. It gave me an out. It wasn't my drinking. It was because somebody had roofied me. It wasn't because I was careless and didn't care who I was taking a drink from or what I was doing out there. It was just it was the drugs. So I was very careless, and it never ended. We were at a swanky party one night, And my life was falling apart again. Second marriage is failing. I'm resentful toward my kids. My job, I'm not doing well in my job. My job had actually sent me for a year-long course. They put me through the addictions counseling program at McMaster University, all the while I was drinking. So on the government's dime, I become an addictions counselor while I'm drinking. Graduate from this thinking I don't need to be an alcoholic, I don't need to be sober to help people, thinking this is great, right? And but here I am, I'm done, I've graduated. They haven't put me in that job. They give me a promotion, but they haven't put me in that job. They could see what's happening, right? They demote me. My life's falling apart. My second marriage is now failing. Like I said earlier, I'm resenting my kids. And I'm at this big party and holding my fishbowl-sized glass of red wine, and we don't fill it up a third like, you're supposed to. Mine's full to the top. And out of nowhere, I have this moment of clarity, and this voice comes to me, and clear as day, your life is going to be hell if you continue to drink. Something's got to give. You've got to quit drinking. And the next day, I called somebody that had somewhat planted a seed about AA to me earlier that year, and she took me to my first AA meeting. And what happened at that AA meeting was I had an ounce of hope. I got an ounce of hope at that meeting. Like I was filled with something. I just saw something in these people. There was a miracle going on there for me, and I didn't look back. I said, I don't know what these steps are that these people are talking about and what everybody's doing here, but whatever it is, I want to start it yesterday because I want to feel better. You tell me that this is what's going to make me feel better, I'll do it. And I did that. And so for 5 years, I was off and running. I did great. Somebody said, hey, you're doing really well. Do you want to do something in May? I didn't know what they asked me to do, but so I ended up being the chair of a spring conference. I had no clue, I didn't know what I was doing. Here I was chairing 6 months sober. But my sponsor said, you do whatever they ask you to do in Alcoholics Anonymous, right? You want to stay sober, you just keep doing it. I did that for 5 years, and then we were posted here to Ottawa, and then I started coasting, because this wasn't where I got sober. People were not like my people. The rooms weren't like my rooms. So I stopped going to meetings. I stopped sponsoring women. I stopped working the steps. I stopped calling my sponsor. Stopped doing the things that I was doing that was making me feel so great. And pretty soon that God-sized hole that was filled by a higher power that I'd found in the rooms was starting to open up again and starting to become empty. And I found myself separated again from husband number 2, and I floated on that newness for a little while, but last spring I found myself racing around my kitchen, frantic, crying, desperately seeking something, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. I was lost. And again, I had that voice came to me, Janet, you know exactly where to go. You know exactly what you need to do. And, we talk about miracles all the time, and it's happened to me now twice, and I can't deny it. When I've been desperately seeking something, it's come to me. And I picked up the phone, and I called my sponsor, and she flat out said, I'm not your sponsor anymore, I'm your friend. She said, we don't do anything, we don't do any work, we don't talk about God, we don't talk about the program, you don't go to meetings. She said, so I can continue to be your friend, or we can start to do some work. And so I did what I did the first time. I called AA and I started doing some work. And that hole, and I have to say that emptiness that I felt when I came here, I came back to the rooms in the spring, was the biggest hole I've ever felt. It was worse than the hole that I had when I came in 2009. Coming back sober was probably the hardest thing. I didn't have a relapse. God saw fit to not make me drink, not let me drink, not take me back to the liquor store or the beer store or wherever. But I was desperate. The despair was there. And in very short order, that started to dissipate. You know, today I am eternally grateful for God in my life, for the program, for the women I sponsor, for my friends, for my family, and for the 12 Steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, because without it, I'd be desperate and I'd be alone. I suffer from mental illness as well. And with the program and the work and the tools that I get, and the help from a professional, my life is a million times better. Miracles happen in these rooms, and you can't explain it. You know, when they happen, I can't explain it. It's happened to me, and I didn't believe in God when I came here. But I can't deny that holding that glass of wine that night, you know, that I had that moment of clarity, that was a miracle. That was a miracle for me, and I'm just forever grateful for that, and forever grateful for everybody here tonight. Thanks so much, John and Vicki.